Welcome to the Previously On podcast. I'm Jillian Benani, and joining me today is a guy who also thought we were dating before we actually were. It's my husband, Tyler Branch.
I knew that was going to come up. He's hit. You know, some people aren't the best at communication. I get it, Rue, when you made that face of just like, talk about it. Ugh.
You need to define the relationship at some point.
Okay.
Tyler said, I thought we were already dating.
Yeah,
I said,
I think that is true.
You kind of got to talk about that. I've been over here upset that you haven't asked me to be your girlfriend.
Yeah, you asked me when we were going to start dating, and I said I thought we already were.
Meanwhile, I thought you had commitment issues or something. I was ready to walk away at that point.
Just like Rue, in a little too deep, too early.
Before we could go on and on about that, welcome to our continuing Euphoria rewatch as we prepare for the season 3 premiere on April 12th. No reenactment of a scene at the top of this app because the acting was just too good in these special episodes. It was so good.
Acting? Oh, man.
I mean, I can't play Coleman Domingo.
No. I mean, who can? Coleman Domingo was Rue was talking about like forces greater than like you as a person. And it's just that one of those forces is Coleman Domingo, because what a force in this episode. It really was like watching Otis Redding sing Try a Little Tenderness. Like this guy just talking about like addiction and life and philosophy. I was like, I could just listen to him go all day.
I feel like that's just Coleman Domingo's personality. And I don't really know if it is, but he's so good.
Yeah.
Good at playing it that I believe it. I would just listen to anything that guy says. I would join a cult if he became a cult leader at this point.
I think he's just that good an actor, because I gotta say, when I've seen him on like the red carpet and stuff, he's much more like playful and like loose and fun. And but he brings such gravitas to the roles he plays.
I mean, in that first special, we're just watching two actors who are going to win Oscars one day. I mean, Zendaya and Coleman Domingo are going to win Oscars. So what fun was that to watch the two of them?
Watching two amazing actors just go round and round. And, you know, and that's also no offense to the part 2 of the special.
I don't know. A great
amazing too.
Another Oscar winner, probably. I'd bet on all three of them.
Oh, great.
That's why I wore my blazer today, because I'm here to talk about serious acting, because that's what we got in these. We're getting deep. Today, we are talking about the Euphoria Special Episodes Part 1, called Rue, a.k.a. Trouble Don't Always Last, and Part 2, Jules, a.k.a. Fuck Anyone Who's Not a Sea Blob. This was your first time watching them, Tyler. Also, my first time watching the specials. So I have seen all of Euphoria, except I never watched these specials.
Why didn't you watch them?
I'm trying to remember. I was really looking forward to them. I think I just heard that not much happened and that you didn't really need to watch them.
I would disagree with both of those statements.
I would too, but I believed it at the time, and I just went into season 2.
You believed some random tweet, and it talked you out of watching this incredible art that is the Euphoria specials. I was honestly dreading these a little bit, because typically, you know, we've talked, there's not a lot of great art that like was made during those times, because it was such difficult circumstances to shoot under. Like, it really limited what you were able to do, and plus just everything going on in the world when COVID hit. And so I was like, this might be like excruciating to watch, after we watched the big finale of season 1 be this over the top musical spectacle, to then be like, oh no, now they're shooting with like a COVID coordinator saying how far apart everyone's got to be. It's like, oh no, this is going to be terrible. But it was great. Both specials great, but especially part 1 really stood out as just amazing.
Yeah.
And you got to go so deep with characters that like you would never have this much time with.
We did learn a lot in these, a lot more than what I had thought from what I was previously told. I think too, Euphoria is such a talked about show online and a memeable show. And I don't think people were really talking about these specials, and you didn't see the memes online about it. So I think I just thought, oh, it's just two people talking in a diner. Great. Everyone's 6 feet apart. Like, I'm tired of watching that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I primarily was like, I can skip those, but I'm glad we watched them.
I get it. It didn't have the spectacle of just, some of the crazy Euphoria high stuff, but it was really deep about what we talk about the show. Is the show sells itself sometimes on being the over-the-top spectacle, but it really is grounded stories in just real American stories of addiction and depression and finances and things that normal people go through all the time.
Family struggles.
Yes.
It was nice to kind of pull back that curtain a little bit in some of these episodes and really get into some of the issues, because this show revolves around teenagers who do not know how to communicate well. But we put two of the main characters, Rue and Jules, in situations where they had to talk and had to open up. And it was kind of like, I feel like I just exhaled a little bit of, okay, we're learning a little bit more. We're understanding a little bit more about these characters. We're finally getting into how they're feeling. And I think we needed that a little bit.
It stripped away the unreliable narrator, Rue, into Rue having to sit there and talk to someone who's going to ask questions back to the crazy stuff she's saying.
Right. So they were more forced into doing it this way because of COVID. But I actually think that they did a great job with what they had to do. I mean, season 2 was entirely prepped and ready to shoot when then COVID lockdown happened. So they were supposed to start shooting on a Monday. They were told on Friday that they had to shut down.
Yeah.
That Friday before.
That's crazy.
So then Sam Levinson created these 2 specials following all the lockdown restrictions while everyone was just kind of sitting around and doing nothing. So that's how these specials came to be.
It would be so interesting to read what that was going to be, what season 2 of Euphoria was going to be in March of 2020. Because season 2 doesn't actually come out to 2022, right? 2 years later. So I would assume he burnt some of the ideas here, and then some ideas I'm sure had to be stripped out of season 2 from just the world changing, the actors changing. It's so interesting. That was a season that everyone was prepped and ready to shoot that will never see the light of day.
I mean, they had to rewrite it. They must have. I don't know how you don't. You gotta probably, even just as a writer and a showrunner, you'd probably be like, oh, well, now that I have more time, let me go back and figure this out. So they probably took some of the things they were going to hit in season 2 and put it in these specials. We need an oral history on Euphoria. That's what we need. I feel like we'll get it one day.
I'm not going to lie. From those featurettes, Sam seems like a pretty intense guy.
Yeah.
Sam
I would say
Levinson.
so.
I think this is an amazing show he's created. And I absolutely love it and love some of the real heart and soul that's put into it about struggling with addiction. But anytime I hear him speak, I'm like, this seems like an intense guy to be working with on set.
Yeah, I was getting that vibe too. we were getting that vibe.
So I can't imagine the stress he's under shooting during lockdown, shooting these specials, but I think they came out great.
I also can't imagine the stress he was under making season 3.
Yep.
And trying to write that and figure that out.
But again, like you said, this is very cool to force a creator into the corner of, what if it just has to be 2 people talking? What would you write?
And they succeeded in what they did with this. So before we get more into it, if you haven't already, please subscribe and follow our podcast. Give us 5 stars. Like our videos on YouTube. Share with your friends. Tell them all we're recapping all of Euphoria, and it's fun.
We're having fun.
We're having fun. We are having a good time with this.
Come have pancakes with us.
I have never wanted pancakes more in my life than after watching this special. All right, so here are my IMDb recaps of the specials. I'm not taking credit for these great recaps. These are IMDb.
These are always hilarious.
Recap for part 1, Rue. After changing her mind to run away with Jules at the train station and relapsing, Rue celebrates Christmas.
What? That's not what happens.
It is Christmas Eve, okay? She's just celebrating it in a different way with Ali.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's part one.
And part two, recap for Jules, is over the Christmas holiday, Jules reflects on the year.
What?
It's the time of year where we reflect, we look back.
She's calmly reflecting.
Calmly reflecting. Yeah. I did love that we saw so many things that happened in season 1 from Jules' perspective. That was so fascinating to me. Because I was very curious what the Jules one was going to be. And it was, I thought we would just get her talking in therapy, which I think would have been great too. But we learned a lot. So
I think both of these specials were very interesting because it really was just two sides of the same coin. Of the first side is here's just Rue giving you her perspective on everything she's thinking. And then to hear Jules' perspective right after that, which is so different, is that kind of stuff's always great.
It's fascinating. I mean, it kind of drives me crazy thinking about it because I think how differently people view things. And it's so crazy. But they really show that these two girls are viewing things very differently and have very different perspectives on everything.
It made me wish they could have cranked 2 more out of these, and I would have loved to have seen one with Maddie and one with Nate.
Oh, that would have been good.
Will you see Nate's do the first one and then Maddie's rebuttal with the second one?
Oh my God, that would have been great. Let's talk a little bit about part 1 first. So we have Rue and Ali eating pancakes on Christmas Eve.
Love it.
Ali just is really calling Rue out on her bullshit. And he's kind of the one person to do this. We have seen Rue regularly manipulate adults in this show, specifically adults. She's very good at it. And Ali is the one person who sees right through that and is able to call her out on it.
I know. He says stuff to her like, you're 17, you don't know shit. And it just feels very like endearing though, not like too attacky. Like it is like, I feel like she's kind of like, yeah, you got me.
He's kind of smiling at her as he says it. Like, what does he keep saying? You're playing pool with Minnesota
Fats. That's the from the movie The Hustler. Where it's like you're trying to play with the best that's ever been.
But that's
you're trying to
so
hustle
funny.
The best hustler there's ever been. Is basically what he's saying.
Ali's like, you cannot fool me, girl. I've been around the block.
He was like, I was a crackhead. He said, you're gonna shock me.
He's like, I've been here. I've been through this now like 30 something years. You are not going to shock me. I've done it all. You are not getting one on me.
I mean, pretty devastating some of what we learn about Ali, that just like that he's had his own relapses,
I know.
That like he hasn't been this strong, perfect figure when it comes to addiction. And like no one is. Like everyone's just fighting the battle every day, which I think is what makes him such a good person for her to be talking to.
That is what makes him so relatable too in the show of this is still a battle every day for him. And he might be on the good side of that battle right now, but he's really been through it. And you see when he's talking to his family too, like he's not living this perfect life. He still has not figured it all out.
She asked him what happened. He says, I got cocky. It's just like, and it's just threw away 12 years of sobriety for a year and a half before I could get back on track.
And I know he's saying he doesn't know it all and isn't the all-wise one, but he really seems like the all-wise one,
I think it's because Coleman Domingo is just so locked in. He is delivering this dialogue top notch. And it also is dealing with a lot of things the show hasn't necessarily wanted to directly address before. I think we've mentioned that like really to have such a like multicultural cast, like the show doesn't really talk about race much. And like this one, he kind of directly addresses like race and addiction and how those things can be intertwined in certain aspects. And just both specials get much more like philosophical about like everything going on in America that might be affecting them as individuals.
And I think that is what a lot of the show is trying to address. Like, these kids are this way because of how the world is right now, but they've never outwardly talked about it necessarily. Mm-hmm. So I think it was nice to really more dig deeper into some of these bigger topics that are kind of on the surface of the show.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just, we've talked about how the show doesn't seem to label anyone, hardly. Like, it rarely does that. And these two specials, for the first time, it's not labeling them, but it's like acknowledging that there are like greater factors out there in culture that are affecting their lives.
Yeah. Should we talk about part 2, Jules?
Well, I just want to say that actually part 1, if you remember, opened with the fantasy of Rue and Jules in New York City in that apartment. And we see that referred to in part 2 a lot as well. And I will say, when it opened with just Jules, you know, half nude, I was like, well, Euphoria's officially back, baby. Here we are.
I know. It was interesting, though, that it kept going back to that apartment and them living together and being happy, kind of the dream that they talked about throughout season 1.
Mm-hmm. Of just Rue with her and her having this like energy for this art life she seems to have in New York, but then Rue is still battling addiction in the bathroom. Like that kind of horror show hanging over both specials was interesting.
Yeah, well, you can't run away from the problems.
Yeah, the fantasy versus the reality crashing down.
Well, in Jules's episode, we have Jules in therapy, which, okay, the therapist is the mayor from Hacks, which she wasn't the mayor from Hacks yet. But I was like, who is that person? I feel like she's in a comedy and now I'm supposed to take her seriously. And then when we looked it up, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Who's a maniac.
Funny. Yeah, she's a complete maniac.
Quite subdued in this. Yeah.
I was like, what range?
What range? The acting.
I mean, they start playing Liability.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that song. And that song is so good and hits so hard and was perfect as they're giving us flashes in Jules's eye of season 1. So we know we're going to be getting her perspective. We're seeing it now through her eyes.
That was one of those you felt like they'd been holding on to, just thinking of the Jules character, feeling like she's a liability to these people in her lives.
That's that song just like, it really hits you. It's so good. And it's really sad. And Hunter Schafer is a co-writer of this, which I did not know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would think this is a difficult story to tell without getting her perspective and approval, honestly, on what you're going to say about it.
Well, she talks a lot about gender and sexuality and things that, you know, she has dealt with personally that I'm sure that Sam Levinson has not dealt with. So I'm glad that they just had her directly involved.
I'm glad she was folded into it. Yeah,
it feels more authentic then.
Because and you know, I'm sure it's complicated because I'm sure she's like, you know, like anyone can get tired of explaining to just cis people what like her life has been like. You know, it's like I'm not here to be your teacher every day.
I know. She's like, I just want to live my life.
I know. So I'm sure it was difficult writing this, but I thought it turned out great.
Yeah. Well, and in this one too, I thought we were just going to be with the therapist the whole time, but we get a lot of flashbacks. We get additional scenes in the timeline of season 1. That was shocking to me. We learn a lot more about her family dynamic. We get some fantasy elements in there.
Big penis.
I forgot about that. I go, here we go.
Here we
Euphoria's
go.
back. Yeah, that's a Euphoria I know.
Yeah.
Overall, we learned a bit in these specials. I would say overall, 3 big takeaways. Rue blames Jules for relapsing.
Yep. Yeah. Their blame for each other in the two specials was interesting. We've said throughout the show that we thought this was a lot of pressure to put on Jules. And you can see her finally vocalizing that to her therapist of just like, I don't want to be the only reason that Rue can stay sober. Like that's too much pressure to put on one person. That if I'm not there, she might relapse. But then we see the other side of that Rue's just sitting there at the diner blaming Jules for everything in her life as if she had no agency.
I did think Rue was saying that a little bit because she was on drugs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So then she was placing blame elsewhere when she knows like she has some responsibility, but
yeah, I think she loves Jules, but I think she just feels like, she's manipulative. We love Rue, but she is manipulative. And so she's trying to like weasel the situation to be like, it's not my fault.
Yeah, exactly. I will say one of my overall takeaways was that they both really love each other.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think that we saw that more in this because I think with Jules, we didn't fully see that in season 1. It was a little bit more complicated, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. And I think that hearing her story throughout it, you understood a lot more. And a big takeaway was like, oh, Jules does love Rue.
Yeah. But also they have this, they are such soulmates. And like, it's sad to hear they're both like thinking about self-harm, like Rue's like, acts like she's not long for this world. And Jules talks about how she's gotten closer and closer to hurting herself. And it really makes the whole Romeo and Juliet thing from her Halloween costume ring even truer of just this young teenage love burning out into a tragic way.
Well, it feels like they both love each other, but is it the right timing? It just feels like timing is not great for either of them right now. They both have so much going on.
I know.
But then you feel bad of like, but these two people deserve love.
I know. But it's, that other person in the diner, Miss Marsha, says to them of like that she didn't have, she said you can't have both. Like you can't, she's like, I couldn't have the energy to stay sober and the energy to focus on a relationship at the same time. Like, and I do think her and Ali are doing a great job just trying to just get into Rue's head that sobriety has to be your focus. It is very, very hard, and you have to remain vigilant, especially early on.
And I cannot imagine doing that as a teenager, honestly, because you want to be doing 100 other different things and focusing on that. You just want to get back, I think, to some form of normalcy. You want to be able to have the relationship, go out, live a carefree teenage life.
I was reading that Miss Marsha was a real person also too,
she was given that vibe. She was
really
great.
Struggled with addiction, which I thought was quite interesting, and I thought brought some real truth to what they're trying to drive home in that first special.
When she gave Rue that advice that you can't focus on both, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And you could just tell it felt really real. It felt like this was a real person saying this.
Because it makes sense that part of being in a relationship is compromise. It's about like losing that complete ego of like that the only thing that matters is me because I have to encompass this other person in the world to have a successful relationship. But the stress that can cause on you early on could make you want to do something selfish because you're having to give up your ego for another person. So then you want to do something selfish to just zone out, reward yourself, not feel the pressure, not feel the stress, to just shoot up,
Yeah.
I totally can get how that can happen.
Oh, definitely. I think this did such a good job of explaining addiction and explaining what it's like and what it feels like and the recovery process.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great because, I haven't struggled with addiction, but everyone in America knows someone who has. And it's just so interesting to hear it from their perspective, from their voices. Like, it's so interesting when Coleman Domingo is talking about, you just got the bad luck of your wires are crossed. That when you would do drugs, you would never be able to quit. And
it hits you differently.
You're going to fight your whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. It hits her brain differently than it does someone else's brain.
Yeah.
And he explained that in 2 seconds.
I know. So well.
Amazing. Yeah. All right, let's get into our top 5. But this time we're doing a top 6 because we got to keep it even between the 2 specials.
You're not picking sides, but in the lovers' quarrel, you don't want to pick a side.
I'm not here to pit women against each other, All right. Fair. Top 6 shocking reveals in the Euphoria specials.
Yeah.
Number 6 goes to Rue has not OD'd in the finale like we might have thought, but she has relapsed.
Yes. Yes.
So
we were worried what that big musical sequence was at the end, but it seems to clearly just signify relapse, right?
Yeah, she seems to actively be using drugs. So it wasn't just at one time or anything like that. We see her use them in the diner. She's high in the diner.
Yes.
And what's really sad is when she does start to be honest with Ali, she says that getting high is the reason she's alive. That's what's keeping her alive.
I love this. Again, these specials actually are essential to understanding what was going on in the finale of season 1 of Euphoria, because this really put it all into perspective. It made me rethink everything I saw there with later on we can talk about this, but the montage of her struggling in the finale, but then also the big musical sequence of how that can signify relapse, of how it can be like that just euphoric feeling of when you're on drugs again and how great it is, and then how it just sinks. You are just in its claws again.
Well, we touched on this a little bit in our last episode when we talked about the finale we thought that musical sequence was her who was sober for a bit, doing drugs again for the first time in a little bit of time, and she just feels that high feeling. She feels on top of the world. And you get it. You understand Rue a lot more in this of why it is so hard for her to stay sober, because she's not getting. She was getting that feeling a little bit with Jules, I think. But then when Jules goes away, she's going to find another way to get it.
And as they discuss, she's got, some mental issues. She seems to be dealing with bipolar disorder. So she's dealing with manic and depressive episodes as well as these addiction issues. And just that self-medication. It's so sad to hear her say that she wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for getting high.
I know. She has a lot going on.
She's a complicated figure.
She is. But we love her.
We love her.
All right. Number 5, shocking reveal goes to Jules thought about stopping hormones.
That was what? That came out of nowhere for me. I was like, what?
I know. It was just, I was shocked by that too. But we really see all of what Jules is dealing with. And she also has a lot going on.
She's a complicated person. And I like when the therapist asked her, have you thought about detransitioning? And she's like, no, that's not what I mean. Yeah. I'm not it's more about, again, both these episodes were very philosophical. So it's more about her just kind of conception of what a woman is and what femininity can be for her. Is more what she's struggling with. And it seems like she's really been beating herself up, claiming that she's been trying to look attractive for men.
Yeah.
And she hates that about herself.
I know. That was so hard to hear. It was hard to hear her be so hard on herself. But I was glad that they brought that up, because I do think that is a lot of people's experience in therapy is you're there for a reason. And a lot of times I think people in therapy are very hard on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just being able to have somebody tell you you're being hard on yourself, like, let's try not to do that so much. Like, let's give yourself a little bit of grace. Like, people need to hear that. So I was happy that I think that was getting through to her a little bit. But
mm-hmm.
I know, hearing her talk about how she was trying to look a certain way for guys, it's so interesting because obviously her story is very unique and very it's her story, but I think that's also relatable just to girls everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Did you think it rang true when she said that girls judge you, like look for flaws?
Yeah,
that girls look you up and down for flaws.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh wow, this is a very relatable story, I think, to anybody. I think a lot of girls feel that way. And I thought that they did a good job of taking Jules' story and her talking about transitioning and
mm-hmm.
relating that to how I think a lot of just girls feel in general.
Well, it was interesting because it did feel like we got a tiny piece of this when she ran off to the city and hooked up with Anna. And she talked about trying to conquer femininity and how, like, she almost credited to that's why she'd mostly been with men, because she was just trying to feel like feminine. She wanted them to treat her in a feminine way. And it did feel like this was her reckoning of like, but why do she was like, I don't even care about what men think. I don't want, like, and it felt like what a struggle this can be of, I thought it was a very empathetic portrayal of transitioning, and that, like, there's no in place of where you've like, okay, I did it. Like, this is where I want to be. In the same way, like, the other side of the coin in a very, very toxic way is Nate struggling with masculinity, of him trying to live up to his dad, who he knows is an incredibly, like, screwed up person's idea of what a masculine hero is. And so he's not living up to that either. And so anyone trying to live up to these ideas of what femininity or masculinity is, you're going to feel like you've fallen short.
Well, a lot of it's from outside sources too. It's not what you think. It's the outside voices that are very loud that are getting in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you can't really conquer femininity. You can't conquer masculinity. These aren't things. There's not like a finish line in these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like you're fixating in your head. You know, it's like, you know, you can be thinking like having nice legs make you feminine, while someone else is like, no, being a good mother can make you feminine.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it can be like, it's all constructed. So it's like, I can understand really struggling with this, especially like, we just hear she's been going through a tough time. Like, you forget sometimes she's the new kid in town.
I know. She kept saying, I've been in this town for 6 months. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's a lot. She's had to deal with a lot in these 6 months.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and just kind of, I think Jules is just figuring out still who she is, what she wants. I mean, like any normal teenager, but also it's very heightened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't know how long she's been transitioning for, really, but I'm sure this is all new and scary, and she's just still figuring it all out.
It's complicated. It's complicated for any teenager thinking about their body. And
I know,
how they
yeah.
look. It's
exactly.
You know, and she's especially had to deal with a very complicated adolescence and teenage years.
All right, number 4 in our top 6 shocking reveals. Number 4 goes to Rue acknowledges harm she's caused to her family. I'm glad that we got more into this because we got a montage in the finale of Rue fighting with her family. and it was pretty dark.
I don't think we really even discussed it much in the finale because I didn't even know how to take it. Like I was like, did this really happen? Like this was violent and scary.
I know it was, and we learned it did happen, and it was violent.
Yes.
She threatened to kill her mom with a piece of glass.
Yeah. I feel like we hoped it was a fantasy.
I know.
I feel like when we saw it in the finale, we're like, is this just like her worst nightmare of who she thinks she was? But no, I think it was hitting back to where you were saying some of her ideas of like dancing through the hospital and riding home singing songs with her family were not real. Like what was real was much darker. And we weren't seeing that early on in the season. And then I think this sort of is saying that montage is what really happened.
Yeah. The bad stuff happened. The happier stuff, not so much happened, is really what I've taken away. And this was tough. And you see how much it's eaten her up and how bad she feels about this. And she hasn't been able to get over it yet.
But Ali has good advice for her when he's like, but if you are going to just wallow in I'm a piece of shit and I don't deserve any better, then you're just going to be a piece of shit. And he's like, you need to accept that you have done bad things and that may not be who you are as a person and that you are going to live a better life than that and be a better person than that. I mean, because it is horrible to hear that she held a piece of glass and threatened to kill her mother.
Yeah.
And then she says, and I was sober when I did.
Yeah.
That. And he's trying to explain, but the drugs have a hold of you.
Yeah. The drugs mess with your brain. Like that wasn't you. That's not who you are as a person. And he goes on to talk a lot about redemption too, because I think Rue feels like she can't be forgiven for this. She can't move on from this, which is just causing more of a downward spiral. And I think it's just too painful for her to even talk about with her mom or her sister. It feels like they haven't discussed these moments really together.
Which is real. I think that's very real of people can just, all right, we got past this. Let's not discuss this. But it's torturing Rue inside to not be talking about it.
When she gets back from rehab, you don't really want to talk about that right away. You want her to be good, so you don't want to bring up the bad stuff. You're worried if you bring up the bad stuff, she's going to relapse, or she's going to run away, or she's not going to trust you anymore. Something's going to happen. Like her mom is walking on eggshells at all times, I think.
Because she doesn't want to see that dark, violent side come out of her daughter, who she loves.
Exactly, yeah. Because she knows that's not her daughter.
Ali gives such a great line when he's like, you have to offer redemption for yourself and for others. And he was like saying he doesn't want to live in a world where everyone's walking around not seeking redemption. Because he's like, if people aren't trying to be forgiven for what they've done in life or trying to be a better person, then you're living in a world of people who are just pieces of shit and have no desire to be better.
Well, in this case with Rue, her doing nothing about this and just sitting with this pain is doing nothing for her. It's doing nothing for her mom, nothing for her sister.
Yeah.
It's not helping anybody because you're getting nowhere with it. Yeah. I just thought him talking about redemption was just such a powerful lesson that I think everybody should hear.
I think it hit us especially hard because we watched this the night after we just watched Zendaya's new movie, The Drama, which is also asking some of these similar questions. No spoilers, but it also hits pretty hard on asking questions about redemption and forgiveness and whether people can change. So I think these are powerful questions to ask, and they really hit home in the 2020s after there was such debate over cancel culture, whatever you want to call it, really consequences for people who have done horrible things. But then what do you do after some of the people have had consequences? Like, how do you exist in a society together? Like, it really as but from a big level to a small personal level of how you deal with these questions of redemption. And they're hard to deal with.
Well, I think a lot of people just want to ignore it. They're not trying to seek redemption for fear of being ostracized in that sense. Like, I'd rather not even try, because if it doesn't work.
So they're like, I'll just be a bad person forever. Whatever.
I do think people do that.
No, you're not wrong.
You know?
Which Ollie's right. That's a scary world to live in.
Yeah. Where no one's putting in any kind of effort.
Mm-hmm. And he's just begging Rue to believe in herself as much as he's giving. He's going to have faith in her. Try to have a little faith in yourself.
And try to have faith in your mom and your sister. They know you. They know who you are. They've supported you this far.
Yeah. And like, Ollie's a religious man. Rue is not. But like, I feel like his point is like, he's not saying you have to directly believe in what he believes in as much as just believe in a power in this world of redemption, of being better, of a bigger power to life that you want to strive for.
Yeah, definitely. All right, number 3, shocking reveal goes to Jules is still in love with Tyler, aka Shy Guy 118, aka Nate Jacobs.
You are not alone, Jillian.
Oh my God.
I saw you blushing seeing those Shy Guy texts come up again.
I said, you were Shy Guy is back.
You were like, oh, hi, Shy Guy.
Oh my God. Lies. I don't even put Shy Guy and Nate Jacobs together. And I know they're the same person. But
as much as we were just talking about redemption, we're not offering redemption for Nate Jacobs right now. You may apply again later.
Well, I don't think he'd put in the effort. Let's be real. That guy's not trying. Effort. Yeah. But I do feel like, I mean, I fell hard for the Shy Guy Jules thing. And I don't think I was wrong. Jules fell hard for it too.
You were right. I think I was in denial about how hard she had fallen. But it was shocking when she said, I think I'm still in love with Tyler, a.k.a. Shy Guy.
But I get it. Because she's viewing Nate Jacobs as different than Shy Guy. I mean, she basically got catfished. So she's picturing Shy Guy as whatever she built up in her head about him.
Yeah.
And Shy Guy was really there for her. She says that Shy Guy knew her better than Rue did.
She was picturing, as we see in the fantasy flashbacks, she wasn't thinking of Nate Jacobs in those. She was thinking of Jacob Elordi's stand-in with giant penis, who is like making love to her.
Good for her.
Whoever that model man was.
And he was being gentle and sweet.
Yes.
And very different from the other guys that we've seen her with. So I get why she is still attached to this fantasy that she had. Because I think that especially when you're just messaging somebody and don't know who they are, and they were talking a lot, you get attached to that. And it's hard to let go of that.
And I think Jules is not alone. A lot of young people, I think, feel more comfortable as themselves on the internet. Like like Kat feels this way too. Like lots of people feel this way of just, it's easier to just talk to a person online and not know whether they're real or not.
It was no drama for her. She was just talking to this person. She even says, I wish I never would have met him. Because I think she just felt so free talking to him and not having to worry about anything. It was just this person who was constantly there for her, who she got to like sext and have fun with. And they talked about what she wanted in the future. That's nice to have.
And I don't think Nate Jacobs would have been this good at playing that character if he wasn't somewhat interested. He was enjoying playing the character.
He was.
Again, as we said many times, he could have deleted all those dicks on his phone. He didn't have to save 40 dicks to his phone. We think there's some curiosity going on there.
He was stalking Jules at one point. Yes. I think there was curiosity.
His anger at Maddie when she says not everyone's 100% straight or 100% gay, and he gets so angry at her saying that because he doesn't want to even question it. And it's why, again, they can be such a good pairing sometimes, Jules and Nate, even though Nate is pure evil, is because he is struggling with living up to the idea of being 100% straight and 100% masculine. while she's trying to conquer femininity. So it's like, you know what I mean? There are things they can talk about and connect about, just like where you'd be talking the same wavelength about things.
Right. They have a bit in common. I'm not rooting for them.
So
I'm not. Well, again, it's a fantasy. It's not real. Yes. Like, this is Jules's fantasy and what she has more built up in her head.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just hard to let go of that.
Despite how evil someone could be, everyone's got a bit of humanity in them. Like, even Nate Jacobs, who is, you know, a bad guy, is also a human being who can relate to just smaller, like, emotional things.
We've also never seen Jules try and talk to Nate Jacobs or anything like that. She knows that he is a bad, toxic guy and that nothing can happen with that. I think she's just really caught up in what she built up in her head and the fantasy of it all.
And that fantasy to be so broken down by such an awful person. Like, how could I fall in love with such an awful person?
Well, and I think it goes back to the conquering femininity thing. She felt like she was conquering femininity a little bit with Shy Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this hot, attractive guy was into her, being nice to her, sexting her.
I think she conquered it. We saw those nudes. She was at that photo shoot she was taking. I think she got it.
Jules, you did it, girl.
Yeah. Mission accomplished.
Rue thought her and Jules were dating and that Jules cheated. When she said Jules cheated on her, I was like, did I miss something? What?
I was like, what? You made fun of me at the top of my lack of communication early on when we were seeing each other, but this was pretty far even for me, where I was like, what, Rue? She cheated on you? I don't think that's the case.
Ali being like, when did you guys get together? What? And she goes, the night of the carnival, we kissed a lot. Like that. Then they were together after that.
Which I did question, what does this mean? And I was right to be like, it meant two different things to the two different characters. Because I remember I was asking, like, whenever you see their bed flipping, remembering like the walls and all this stuff of like, they were finally connecting and hooking up. But, you know, the truth of that was, Jules wasn't being truthful to Rue about what had just happened, that she found out Shy Guy was Nate Jacobs. And Rue wasn't communicating either that, like, she wants to be in an exclusive relationship with Jules.
No, they're both not talking to each other about the things they need to talk about and their feelings at all.
But I think what that was showing us is, once again, a lot of times the show's from Rue's perspective, and she's a very unreliable narrator. So to her, she's like, this is the big moment where we're in love and we'll be together forever. But like, that was not Jules' perspective on her going and getting in Rue's bed and making out a little.
Yeah, she's like, we kissed a little. It wasn't that serious.
She said, we say I love you. And Ali said, I say I love you to my barber. She says, do you make out with your barber? And he said, well, if I did, he might think it was casual. I don't know.
Oh, my God.
It was so good.
Ali was bringing her out on tough love.
Ali just calls her out on her bullshit.
Rue going as far to say she cheated is just so funny because her and Jules even were talking about Anna and talking about how Anna bit her. They had these conversations and cheating was never brought into it.
No.
But I thought Rue and Jules were more together when Jules got back from the city. Like, they went to the formal together. They took those pictures together. It seemed like if they were ever really together, it was more then for me.
I would say after Jules got back from the city, they didn't talk about it. Like, I don't think they really were. I don't think you could claim you were, but I would say they were acting more like they were seriously dating until the train station.
Yeah.
Where that kind of feels like a breakup.
I think that was a breakup. I think that's why they're both going through it. They're both struggling without the other person now.
And I'm sorry Rue feels this way, but it's just not what happened. like you weren't even on a break. You weren't even a thing. Like,
Rue, you know? Just because you kiss does not mean you're together. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. Rue falls hard and fast, as we've learned.
Does. But as we said, she was also high and can be a little manipulative and a little blaming in this situation. But that was very funny when she said Jules cheated on me. Ali said, you said you were just friends.
And then when she says, when Ali's like, did you have a conversation about it of if you're together or not? And she goes, ew, no, that would be so crazy.
Yeah,
like, it was so funny.
Sorry, that's what you got to do. Yeah, that's one of those things where like a young person acts like an adult's crazy for suggesting that. It's like, no, I know you think that's crazy, but that is kind of what you're gonna have to do.
I feel like though it is such an awkward thing. You hear,
of course,
people talk about defining the relationship or not, and I know some couples that are together that never really had to have that convo. So, like, people thought we were crazy. I'm not gonna name names.
Oh.
I feel like people thought we were crazy that we had like this big combo about it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I need him to ask me to be his girlfriend. And I know I'm in my mid-20s, but I need it.
Yeah, well, we define the relationship.
Yeah. But I mean, communication is never bad, people.
That's true. I did just enjoy this entire thing because it felt like Ali was there to fact check our unreliable narrator. And it was cracking me up.
We needed that. We really learned how Rue views things, and it is off. Number one shocking reveal goes to Jules's mom is an addict, and that's destroyed their relationship. Whoa. I mean, we knew there were problems with the mom, but I didn't know she was an addict.
I know.
Which
I don't know what I thought of the mom. I think I just thought the mom was out of the picture now due to like. I thought mental health problems and
I thought the mom just couldn't handle all of this.
And I thought she just kind of like left.
I thought she bailed.
Yeah, I thought she just left them. But
that's what I thought.
She's like dealing with addiction. Like it was like, whoa, this seems like valuable information you should probably discuss with Rue.
I mean, that makes so much more make sense.
Yes.
Because there's so many parallels to the mom and to Rue.
That was a huge reveal.
You understand just more of Jules' hesitation a little bit in all this. It
reframed so many things that we were wrong about season one. Of like, after the Halloween party where she's disappears for a week, that sets Rue off in a depression, it was like, what Jules was actually going through wasn't just the Nate Jacobs stuff. It was her mom. Like her mom showing back up and trying to get forgiveness. Just, ugh.
And then leaving again. And falling off the wagon again then. She hears too.
Yep.
So then I thought she was getting drunk at the Halloween party because of what was going on with Nate Jacobs.
That's
and
what
a little bit of her just wanting to let loose and have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
And also feeling the pressure of Rue. I thought maybe that was a little bit of it. And we were wrong. I mean, she was still dealing with all that stuff, but the mom is number one here.
I love these kind of reveals because it makes you like, just like in real life, you don't know everything that's going on with someone. Yeah. So give them a little grace. Like you don't always know everything that's going on in someone's personal life. And so as much as we had interpreted it as she's got, the stress of Rue and she's got the stress of Nate and she's also had like, a rough adolescence and is just wanting to have a free, fun life. It's like, no, what's actually going on that she didn't tell any of us is that she had this confrontation with her mother and then her mother fell back off the wagon. Like, and it's like, whoa, okay. Now I understand a lot more.
I feel bad that I kept saying, Jules just wants to have fun. Let her have some fun.
Well, she does a little.
Yeah.
She is also that.
Yeah. But you just understand a lot more of how she's dealing with Rue and why there's some hesitation there.
Yeah. The parallels with Rue. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Of just when the therapist calls it out of like, so you want to be with Rue who loves you unconditionally, sees you like imagine your mother did when you were a child, but Rue also has addiction issues that you resent. Like, and she's like, sounds like your mother.
Wow. I mean, that cut deep.
That did cut deep.
That
I was like, this was a productive first therapy session.
I know. I thought she was getting out a lot. Good for her.
Like, wait till she unpacks all this Jacob stuff you don't even know about with Shy Guy.
She kept being like, I won't get into all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I was like, there's a lot to get into.
We got a lot to talk about with Jules. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
I know. It was crazy. Well, and then we see Rue come over on Christmas Eve.
Was amazing.
Very awkward interaction.
It was interesting to reframe the diner at the very end of part 2 that you reframe part 1 is that actually she had just seen Jules. She was
It
on
makes
her
a
way to
lot more
Ali.
sense. Yeah.
She's high and she's a wreck and she's feeling such conflicted emotions about just seeing Jules.
Well, and in the diner, she just looks so worn out. She looks tired. She just looks like she's been through it. And now you get it a lot more. I was wondering if she had come from a fight with her family or something like that. And then when we get the Jules reveal that she sat by Jules's house and apologized and then kind of ran away, it makes a lot more sense. And once again, can they talk?
These specials were good, guys.
They were good. All right. Honorable mentions in our top 6 shocking reveals. So here's some other reveals that we got. Ali has a wife and 2 daughters. I would say there. I would say had a wife and 2 daughters. Yeah. We see him not celebrating Christmas with his family. It doesn't seem like he is invited over often, but he had a good phone call with them. So that was nice to see.
Well, one wouldn't speak to him, but
it
seemed like one would. Very sad.
Yeah.
And
it was very sad you see this guy who I think every day is trying, but
the damage you cause during those years.
The damage.
Especially during formative years. I mean, that was a devastating story he told about how he wanted to kill his dad for hitting his mom. And then he became the guy who hit their mom.
Yeah.
That's devastating stuff.
It's just things that, people need to then put up their own boundaries a little bit. So it's hard. That was tough to see.
I know. Very sad.
You kind of feel for the daughters. You feel for the daughters too. Absolutely. Of everything that they've been through. Them. Yeah.
But it's nice that at least despite, what he's done, despite, his relationship with his family now, that he is still trying to do good in the world in other ways and being like a father figure to Rue.
He's trying for that redemption. I mean, even calling his family, that's trying. Another reveal, the Rules tattoos were not real, which we had a feeling they weren't.
I had questioned that when that happened. I was like, I don't know about Rue sometimes. I was like, I don't know if that happened.
Well, that's when we were thinking, Rue doesn't seem to be a great, or she's an unreliable narrator. She's a great narrator, but she is unreliable. And that's just something to keep in mind while watching the show.
No, we just talked about it, about getting them. And I was like, well, that's not the way you portrayed it to the audience, Rue.
It was so good. This was such a teenager, talking and being like, well, it didn't really happen, but we talked about it.
Yeah. I'm like, I hope too many of these don't happen. I don't want to find out Ashtray's a 35-year-old man.
That would be devastating.
No, Rue.
I don't think that's real. I don't think
he just looks young.
I don't think what she says about other people is always false. I think it's more what she says about herself.
Yeah. And Jules.
Yeah. Jules's dad had to come get her after she ran away. That was pretty heartbreaking to hear him be like, you're 17. You can't live on your own.
Again, incredibly wrong to say you don't need these specials to understand what happened in Euphoria, because this completely explains so much of what happens in the finale.
I know. I think I was just ready to move on to season 2, okay?
We got resolution on what happened when where did Jules go? And how she came back and all the aftermath.
At this point, I had forgotten everything that happened in season 1. Okay, I watched that in one day on a binge. Yeah.
Next day, Euphoria High.
Yeah.
Reset.
This was a shocking reveal. Ali's name is Martin. Did not see that coming.
Yeah, that was funny. his name was Martin. And she was like, "Why is your name Ali?" And he said, "What am I, the first black friend you've ever had?" That was so good. He had so many great one-liners.
He did. All right. Do you have Tyler's takes for us?
I do. I want to talk about the show overall. I think it's a travesty that season 1 of Euphoria was not nominated for Best Drama.
I agree. What won that year? Do you know?
So I looked it up. Best Drama went to Succession. I can't complain there. Succession's an amazing show. But, looking at the nominees, I don't want to call anyone out in particular. Stranger Things, but I don't know why we couldn't nominate Euphoria.
What season of Stranger Things was that?
It's a good
I need
question.
To know. Do you know?
Yeah, they were like, we only have one spot for bike riding teens, and we're giving it to Stranger Things over Euphoria. But no offense to Stranger Things.
But what season of Stranger Things was it?
Show. I don't know. It was the 2019 season, so 2019
not season 1.
Season.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if it was a season with them all.
The other nominees were Ozark, The Mandalorian, Killing Eve, Handmaid's Tale, The Crown, Better Call Saul. I'm not saying any of these shows are bad. Like, they're all good shows, but I'm just surprised we couldn't squeeze Euphoria in there somewhere. Euphoria did win Best Original Music for Labyrinth, Best Contemporary Makeup, obviously.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And Best Actress for Zendaya. It's just kind of shocking that Best Actress in a drama that they win and don't get nominated for Best Series.
When she is a lot of the series, too. It's
not like she is the show.
Yeah, right.
So what are we talking about?
I think a lot of this is just the Academy does not want to nominate a teen drama for Best Drama. They view it as, it's a teen show. Or I think this show just got... People were like, it's teens having sex. Like, that's not even a lot of the show. You don't actually see much sex in this show.
See a lot of dicks. Got dick stigmatized.
I mean, look, a lot of the show is shocking, but I think that's just what people thought about the show. Yeah. And that's just not true if you actually sit down and watch this show. And the Academy just doesn't respect this stuff. It's annoying because those Stranger Things kids were still like 10 years old when that season was nominated. So they're like, they're young, they're kids. Like, but once they become teenagers, we can't nominate it.
I think you're right. There's a little bit of a bias to teen dramas and a little bit of bias to how salacious like the nudity was. But I think it was a great show. I think the show really hits hard still today. I loved it. And I was saying that some of the reviews of it, I feel like underrate how good the show is. And I feel like, I was telling you this, that I think some of the critics who review this show, I think come off a tiny bit elitist, where it's like, I don't think you're understanding how hard stories of drug abuse and addiction can like hit real Americans. And like, you're not, I don't know if you're isolated from this in your families, but like a lot of Americans deal with major addiction in their families and deaths in their families due to addiction. And so this is a very powerful story about that, despite all the glitz and glam and like showiness of it, that I think really hits.
Well, that's what I think people get caught up in, the glitz and the glam and the makeup and the provocativeness of the show. When we've talked about this a lot, at the end of the day, this is a show that is tackling some really big issues. Addiction, toxic masculinity, sexuality, violence, like so many important topics that are really hard to talk about, that this show isn't scared to go there. And they talk about it in a great way.
Answers, and that maybe there aren't clear answers to these questions.
Right. And that's what it's saying a lot of the time, too. And I think that's important. And
I also thought it was embarrassing that the special wasn't nominated, because I thought part 1 should have won a lot of awards, and it seemed to be just completely ignored. And Coleman Domingo, like, I saw some smaller critics gave him like best actor for his performance in part 1, but like, the the Television Academy, all the major awards, like ignored it. But then I think they realized they made a huge mistake because I saw he wins the Emmy for Best Guest Actor for season 2. So I do think maybe people caught up to this and were like, uh-oh, what have we done?
I think something happened with like the marketing of these specials. Like people were not talking about them for some reason.
They're good. They're really good. And I think they're an incredible addendum of just what I want, of give me something different. If you're going to do a special, give me something not Euphoria, but I get to go really deep with these characters. So I absolutely loved it. I mean, this was kind of like, I don't know if you ever see the movie By Dinner with Andre, where it's kind of just two people talking the whole movie. But like, that's sort of what this was. And I loved it. I loved it.
It was almost a retrospective of season 1, too. We get these main characters of the show kind of walking us through some of the main plot points in season 1 that happen and telling us what they really thought about it. We don't really get that a lot of time with the show. Yeah. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
It was smart.
I think it did a great job, too, of, especially in Jules' episode, also somewhat in Rue's, but about how teens feel like what's going on with them is the end of the world. When I'm like, I do know it's been a very, very hard 6 months for Jules, but like 6 months is not that much time in the big scheme of things. But but it's about relativity. I do think of like why adults sometimes can seem more level-headed and not as like emotionally panic about things going on in their lives, is that they've had more life to pull from and to compare it to. But when you're young and you really haven't had that much time of feeling like yourself, especially post-puberty, when you really sometimes can feel like the adult you, that like with that limited amount of time, you feel like every bad thing that happens is just it for you. That's it. It's the end of the world. And I think this does a great job of giving you empathy for that.
Well, I remember being in high school and a week just felt so long.
Yes.
So 6 months, that's a lifetime when you're a teenager.
Yes.
That is a long time.
Absolutely.
Time goes by so slow
you can
at that age.
Friend groups, identities, everything.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's part of it, is that like you're kind of constantly changing too at this point in your life. And it just feels like time, it's just so slow. It's just crazy. Yeah. And time is slow, but things are changing quickly.
Yeah. It's just so different how you compare things like that. Because you can become an adult and you can have someone who you call your friend that you haven't seen in 6 months, you know, because you've just been really busy.
That's not what's happening as a teen. You're never talking to them again.
But that's not what happens as a teenager.
No.
Yeah,
but that's why I think stories about teenagers are particularly interesting. Because I do think that the way that they look at the world is so interesting. It makes it a little bit more fun to watch of, oh, I would never be able to get over this. Like if I would still be bringing this up if I was a teenager too at that time.
It's a good perspective that it feels so intense.
Yeah.
Like
everything feels very intense.
Everything that happens, you're overreacting to. Which is fun drama to watch.
You're allowed to make the story a little more dramatic, I think, because then it feels more real to that experience. Well, hot take, Euphoria specials are good.
They are very good. I talked a lot about Ali, had so many jokes that were great in this one. I thought Rue had one really good joke when she said, do a lot of women convert to Islam?
That was good.
He said, well, very few. Yeah. I did love one more Ali joke I loved is when he said at the end, and he was like, but I was a Christian before I was a Muslim. So he said, I've been wrong before. Yeah. I thought that was a very funny joke.
Yeah. I'll be interested in season 3 because it looks like religion is going to be a little bit more a part of the storyline. So I wonder if Ali is going to be a part of that at all. Because he kind of was talking about religion in this. So
I took what Ali's saying sometimes is almost being a stand-in for what Sam Levinson thinks about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Is, maybe I'm totally off base on that, but it did feel like some of his explaining like wires crossed and some of his philosophical viewpoints on redemption and that we have to have redemption as a society, I do feel like is almost coming from the creator at that point. So I could see season 3 being about searching for redemption. That makes a lot of sense to me in this show, but I haven't seen season 2. which I'm excited for. I wanted to say that seeing a motel in Euphoria creeped me out again. Just seeing a motel, seeing that vacancy sign, I was like, I don't like it. I don't want to know what's going on.
I brought it up. I said, is that the motel? Is that the motel? Are we going to see a Jacobs walking out of there any minute
Yeah, I know. We see that truck pull in. I was like, I don't want to be here.
I wish they would have done that.
When Miss Marsha calls out Ali, for not tipping, for being cheap, I was like, Ali, you gotta be tipping, man. I feel like you're treating this diner like it's your office. Like, are you just sitting here getting free refills all night, counseling youth? You gotta be tipping Miss Marsha. Come on, man.
That was a business meeting.
Yeah.
He had an agenda. He was ready to go.
Well, that's all. I'm really excited for season 2. I love the specials and I love this show.
I'm really excited to watch season 2. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I feel like I really only remember the big meme stuff, the stuff that's really on the internet. So I'm excited to dive back into it.
I feel like it's going to be so different from what I've seen so far, because I actually think it's the biggest time jump between anything that I've watched so far. Because it's not that far from, I think, the end of Euphoria to the specials to then when that finally happens.
No, it starts on New Year's, and we left off at Christmas.
No, I mean in real life.
Oh, yeah. Well, everyone's going to look different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone's going to look different.
That will be fun. We can talk about everyone's season 2 glow-ups.
You love a season 2 glow-up.
Everybody. I mean, come on. When they had like 4 years in between, we got some glow-ups, I think. People were making movies then all of a sudden in between. All right. Well, there we have it. Those are the Euphoria specials. We will be back with season 2. We've covered all of season 1 as well, so be sure to check out those episodes. And please follow our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple. We would love that. It really helps. Subscribe and like our videos on YouTube. Follow me on social media at @previously_on_teen TV. And buy our merch on Etsy. Thanks for listening.
Bye.